Most guitarists think memorizing the fretboard means just drilling endless shapes and patterns. That's how I started too, but the approach never fully stuck. So what worked was connecting the fretboard through real jamming, and let me just show you how it works. So here's what I did. This was over a little Scarlet Begonia style jam, which is in B, but it's not in B major, right? That's the first thing. So this is a super common jam situation, is Mixolydian, and all that is having a flat 7, if you don't know what that is, right? A real simple explanation, right? And just taking this shape right here, this E, if you know the K system, this E shape right here, B, and this is just, it's really so easy. Just taking this, right? And then moving it down 2 frets, all right? But not doing the whole thing, right? Well, that would be Fire on the Mountain, which is typically what they would, jam this into, right? That's why it works. But over this part, they're not fully playing that A chord. A little bit here and there. Some people are playing it, they're touching upon it. But you can do that as much as you want while you're, comping behind somebody. But it's better when you take little pieces, like just the top 3, the next 3, the next 3, and those are actually all triads, which you don't have to know what those are to do this, but just, it's all triads. But just use your ear, just experiment, try to, little pieces. You could just do the top 2, you could even separate by strings. You can hear how it all kind of sounds good, it all works, and by hitting up this chord right here though, it opens things up so much. You're getting that flat 7 in there. For one, the A is a flat 7, so that gives you that Mixolydian sound. So common with jamming it over a major chord. It's more commonly a Mixolydian sound than it is an actual like major sound, because it opens things up. I mean, you have that major 7, it's like it wants to pull there. You have that flat 7, it opens things up, and now by throwing that chord, it opens things up more, and by doing it by pieces, you can be much more melodic and not just boxed into one chord. So of course, you can do this with other shapes too. You could be going on, right? If you knew the K system more fully, you could be playing this shape, the G shape, like this, and little pieces of it though. But you don't even need, up here too, you don't even need all that. You can just do it right here, these 2 shapes, and have endless possibilities. But if you do want to know the cage system, I have a cheat sheet. You can grab it through a link down below, where it just shows you the major, minor cage shapes, plus the scales, like the pentatonics and the full scales that go along with it. But now let's flip it to minor, specifically a Dorian sound. So we're just bumping this one down 2 frets to A, but A minor. And just like you have a common Mixolydian sound when you're jamming over a major chord, over a minor chord, it's more common to hear Dorian than it is major. And what that is, it's a mode. All you need to know though is that when you go up to the 6th scale degree, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, it's a major 6. So instead of it being a flat 6, and it's a much more sweeter sound. The flat 6 gives it that darker, more sadder minor sound. It just doesn't work as well if you want like a funky kind of jam and stuff. And, I've seen, learning a little bit of this theory work for students. Like David, a student of mine who took my Guitar Theory Toolbox course, he told me that, he's always found theory to be very confusing and overwhelming. But the way I presented in the course, it finally made it click for him. And that's exactly what can happen when you frame the fretboard this way. It finally clicks, just framing it that like you don't need to know every little detail of what's going on behind the scenes, but just know these little tricks of like, okay, flat 6 for minor, raised 6, major 6 for Dorian. So that's what we're going on. That's what's going on here. And all I was doing was taking an A minor chord, right? So using that cage system again, thinking of E minor shape right here, and taking this shape. And I was throwing little extra notes here too, kind of moving around outside of just regular cage shapes. But then using this shape right here. So it's the same as before, but we're going up 2 frets. So if you take like this right here, you just go up. You can also do all this. And so, again, I'm not going to get into the theory behind this, but just to know that it works. And I will just say that it's because you get that major 6 right in there when you play that. So just taking little pieces of that, and also just throwing in little notes like this. that is much different than just playing an A minor chord and just, you know, just kind of being all, you know, boxed in with that and stuff. Now let's go back to the Mixolydian sound, but approach it in another very common way you hear in jams. So now we are going from B before to C Mixolydian, but I'm playing it down here just because of the nature of the shapes I wanted to show you. We can of course do this stuff here as well, and instead of playing it with that, you know, major chord and then going down 2 frets, I am now throwing on the dominant 7th and making it more clear. This is more, it's like more of a jazzy situation, like really getting funky and stuff too. And so just playing this C chord, right, C shape, and then just throwing on a flat 7 right here. There is that B flat in this case. And then throwing on some extensions. You know, this really transforms your sound. So taking this note right here, moving it up 2 frets, and I'm not going to get into the theory here, but that's basically what they call a 9th chord. So a C9. You can throw this on top too. And then, like everything, we don't have to play the full thing, but just play the, you know, these notes here. You don't have to play the root note. That's the main thing, is get rid of that root note, because if you're playing with a band or a backing track, the bass player is going to be revolving around that, and it will get in the way, it will get muddy, it will get a lot funkier when you play higher strings and you get rid of that root note. So you got that, right? So that is a 7th chord, 9th chord by adding that note on there, and then I was bringing it up here, and this is called a 13th chord. So really getting some high extensions on there, and then just kind of bring it down to the 9th. Super common. So if you want to get really funky, just kind of, you know, learn some of these shapes and explore around with them. And of course, you know you can move it. You wanted to do it for D, you just move it up 2 frets. Stuff like that, but the idea is just to learn some of these shapes, but really move around with it and be melodic so that you open things up. Because if you're talking about jamming, it's not about just playing one chord. It's like endless possibilities, but you don't need to get overwhelmed by all the possibilities. Just take a little thing, like one shape, like a regular old major shape that you might already know, and just try moving around and taking little pieces with it. And this way, you're not just stuck in a box. You can move around, you can react, you can connect with the soloist and the rest of the band. And you know, these are the exact moves that has helped me memorize the fretboard and really kind of open things up. But here's the thing, just knowing them, it's not enough. The real breakthrough comes from when you apply them. So that's what this next video here is about. And in it, I'll show you how to take this all to the next step.